What's up everyone, Brad here with the Money Dad channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to use FINVIZ, specifically the stock screener over at FINVIZ to find, well, anything you want really, but in this video I'm going to show you how to use it to find short squeeze stocks, the next stock potentially that could go parabolic from squeezing out all the short sellers in that stock. So we're going to look for stocks that have a high short float in those stocks with the stock screener over at FINVIZ. So let's jump into it. I'm over at finviz.com. That's FINVIZ.com, and I really love this website. I mean, there's just a ton of great information here. Highly recommend everybody go over there if you're not using it yet when you are looking at stocks, if you're looking for information, or if you're looking for that next stock to invest in or trade. If FINVIZ is not in your tool belt, highly recommend checking it out. I will make a more in-depth video on all of the different things that you can use it for, all of the great features and information that you can find here. I'll make a longer video on that soon, but for this video we're going to go to finviz.com and then click on this button right here that says screener. That is their stock screener tool. Okay, so once we have that pulled up, to find a stock that has a high short float, we need to filter for it, right? And if I didn't say it in the intro, the reason that someone may want to look for a stock with a high short interest is because when those shorts get squeezed out of that stock, and short squeeze means if a stock goes up and a short seller has to cover their position, so they can't be short the position anymore because they're just losing so much money. When that happens, those short sellers have to cover their position, it pushes the stock even higher. So it just kind of creates this hyperbolic scenario where you have people buying the stock, and then you have people that are short selling also buying the stock, and it just keeps going up and up and up. So we've seen examples like that with GameStop recently, with AMC recently, and there are many other stocks that this is happening to that aren't as popular right now, but we can find that really easily. Go over to the stock screener button and we're going to look for the short float or the float short right here, this button right here, and we want to change that to whatever threshold we want to look at. So if you make it super high, like over 30%, you can certainly do that, but it's going to filter you down to less than 2 pages worth of stocks. So if we go over to the second page, we can see there's 36 stocks in the entire stock market that have a short float of more than 30%. So if you want to only look at the very most shorted stocks, then that's how you would do it. And you can look at what that short float is. Right now we're on this overview tab. You would have to go over to, I believe, it's not financial, maybe it's ownership. Here you go, this ownership tab right here, and then this column will show you the short float right here, right? So if you want to sort by that, you click on it, click it again to give you the most shorted stocks up at the top. So these are the most shorted stocks in the stock market right now. You've got, in a lot of these, there are so many stocks out there, guys. A lot of these you've probably never heard of. PubMatic is a $200 million company, very small. It's only got 20 million shares out there, right? And 46% of them are shorted. So that is an extremely high ratio. Obviously, it's number one, right? So it's the most shorted company in the stock market. If you want to look at more than just 36 companies, if you want to kind of look for the right scenario for you, then you may want to open this up to maybe over 20% or over 25%, and that'll give you a lot more companies to look at. And again, you want to sort by this column right here, this short float column, to make sure that you are looking at the most shorted, and if you flip it the other way, it'll be the least shorted in your filter, right? So you have it set to over 25%, so the least shorted company in this filter is going to be right at 25%, right? So that's how you do that. There are a couple of other ways, not other ways, there's a couple of things that I would recommend looking at when you're trying to find companies that are being heavily shorted, or if you're looking for a short squeeze, you want to look at the short ratio as well. This is going to tell you how many days short sellers need to cover their positions based on how many shares they're shorting and how many shares are being traded every day, right? Because if there are, let's say, 5 million shares shorted, but that company, you know, there's only 700,000 shares traded every day, it's going to take a long time for a short seller to cover that position, right? You can't do it in one day. It's going to take several days. So when you see these big short squeezes, it typically goes over multiple days because you have short sellers trying to get out of their positions across multiple days, and they can't because there are so many shares shorted and there's just not a lot of volume, right? So if you ever hear about, you know, low float companies being shorted, that's what they're talking about there. They're talking about, you know, companies that just don't trade a lot of volume, that have high short interest. So those short squeezes could go on for days and just keep going up and up and up. That's something that I like to look into. Another thing that I like to look into is how many total shares are out there, right? Because there's a big difference between Workhorse, for example, that has 122 million shares on the streets, and this company right here that I've never heard of, RMed, that only has 3 million shares out on the streets, right? Big difference there, huge difference. So one other thing that I like to look at that you're not going to see on this page is how popular is the company with retail investors, retail traders, the Reddit crew, the Wall Street Bets crew, right? Workhorse is a pretty popular company among that crowd. So that could be a prime company to see, you know, them push it or just keep investing and not selling their positions, right? What do you call it? Diamond hands. You know, hold their positions until the short sellers give up, right? When you have these other companies that no one's ever heard of, or it's not trending on StockTwits or Reddit, Wall Street Bets, any of those forums or blogs or groups or anything like that, then in my opinion, it's less likely that that crowd is going to have much to do with that short squeeze, right? When we see in the news AMC and GameStop going parabolic with these short squeezes, that's largely because of the retail investor having diamond hands and just not selling and keep buying in. So I look for, okay, what is popular on this list, right? Workhorse is popular. Tattoo Chef is popular. I think I've seen a lot about Clover, you know, things like that. So these are some things to keep in mind, guys. I'm not telling anybody that there's one perfect way to do this. I'm just trying to give you ideas, okay? And this is how you get there. You go to finviz.com, you click on that screener button, you search that float short filter right there, and then click on this ownership button right here. That's how you get to where I'm at right now. And I told you guys a few things that I like to look at, right? The main thing is looking at or sorting by this float short column so that you see the most shorted companies. And this is all free. I did not log into an account. I just went straight to finviz.com. And that's it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. You know, this is just one tool over at FinViz that I really like. There's lots of other things you can do at FinViz, and like I said at the beginning of the video, I will make a longer video on all the different things. Maybe I'll go a little bit more in depth on the screener. Please, you know, jump into this screener. It's a fantastic tool, not just to be used for, you know, finding heavily shorted stocks. It can be used for anything. If you like financials, fundamentals, technicals, you know, insider trading, institutional ownership, right? Those are a couple of the columns on my screen right now. You can look for stuff like that as well. So just all kinds of stuff out there on FinViz. I've really grown to love this tool over the last few months. Highly recommend it. So That's all I got for this video, guys. If you liked it, please hit that like button for me. It helps the channel out. And if you're not a subscriber, you don't know what I do here, maybe this is the first video on my channel that you've come across. I like to do stock chart analysis. I do technical analysis mostly on my channel, so go check those out if that's what you're into. I like to look at stock chart patterns and find breakouts and trade those breakouts to make profits. I also do these little how-to videos every once in a while. So if you like either of those things, hit that subscribe button, come along for the ride, because we're having a good time with this. All right, that's all I got for this video. Thanks, guys. I will see you in the next one.